welcome to Audio Biography, the podcast, where we talk about the songs that changed our lives and yours. I'm Richie. He's Clint. What's up, my man?
I can't believe that we're recording today when it's like 65 degrees. There's not a cloud in the sky. So inside doesn't seem like a good choice, but I'm glad to be here, Rich.
Yeah, it's sunny and 70 here. And we are joined by a very special guest. He will be our second guest now, and hopefully he will come back in the future. It's my good longtime friend, Ken Housewright. We went to high school together. What's up, Ken?
How's it going?
Good. So Ken and I have known each other for
long time.
more than 30 years. We'll just go with that. Did a little hanging out in high school. Ken, if you wanted to just say a few words, whatever you want to say, and then we'll dive in.
Like Richie said, we've known each other since freshman year in high school. I moved to Florida the day after I graduated high school, actually, and I live in the Miami area. I'm more on the heavier side of music in my tastes, but I do like a lot of different stuff.
Well, we're glad to have you here with the heavier side because we need that. We like we like to be pushed in other directions because, you know, as you called yourself earlier when we were talking, a music nerd. All music nerds should like all kinds of music. Also, Ken plays guitar. He's really good too.
Right on.
Yeah, I've been playing since my 16th birthday.
Yeah, he can play
some. That was a while ago.
Oh yeah, and he can play some really complicated stuff. So impressive guitar player.
Thank you.
Yeah, man, we're so glad to have you here, and this is going to be a lot of fun. We have 12 records to cover today, so we're just going to jump right in and let Clint go with his first pick, which, if you've listened before, we start at number 5 and go to the top. If we have crossover, we just deal with it. You're on, Clint.
Deal with it.
Deal.
All right. So speaking of heavy and intricate guitar parts, my number 5 is Presence by Led Zeppelin. I don't know if a lot of people know very much about this album at all because it doesn't really have any. It maybe had a one single they would play on the radio, and that was probably Nobody's Fault But Mine. That song you'll probably hear on classic rock radio, normal classic rock radio. I think they tried to get Candy Store Rock to be a hit, but it's okay. The real gem of this album is like a top 3 all-time Led Zeppelin song for me. It's Achilles' Last Stand. And yeah, it's 10 minutes and 31 seconds long. But I'm always sad when it's over because I've been rocked. And, just I could still listen to that song. Every time I listen to that song, I just get pumped up. It is, you could tell when, in our previous episode, we talked about Houses of the Holy, where even from the first few notes of song remains the same. It sounds like the band has a sense of urgency to record. Well, here it's almost like a sound of desperation and urgency. And mentioned earlier, they recorded this album after Robert Plant had a really horrific car accident where he broke his leg, and they're getting everybody back together. I guess they already had maybe some stuff recorded. I don't know all the background story, but most of what Robert Plant, he was kind of sitting in a chair in the recording studio while recording this because his leg was broken. But I don't think it's definitely not as great as the album right before this, Physical Graffiti. But I love Achilles' Last Stand. That goes without mention. For Your Life's a great song. I just think, this album has a theme. It just sounds, it has a unique sound to any other album they have, which they're good at doing. And another long song to close out the album is kind of a hidden gem, in my opinion, is T for One. It's very bluesy, but also lots of long, intricate guitar parts. So it's number 5 for me. What do you guys think?
I'll jump in real quick. It's pretty far down on the Led Zeppelin list for me, but I agree with you on Achilles' Last Stand. That's an amazing song. Really good way to open a record. I want to talk about the packaging and the artwork because there's a story there. There's a documentary out there about the art group, marketing group, Pink Floyd contemporaries called Hypnosis that did all kinds of artwork. They did all the Pink Floyd stuff. And this one, most people probably didn't pay attention, and I didn't know it until really late. The people sitting around that table are looking at this weird obelisk, and they call it the object. And there are actually copies of that they made like 4 or 5 of them, and those things are like super like hard like to find. Like some of them they don't even know where they are. But anyway, it's just a weird, man. It is such a weird record cover. Yeah, I always thought it was just weird that there's this family sitting around a table, and that's before I noticed this dildo looking thing on the middle of the table. Because it's just like a small obelisk type thing. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out because I guarantee you one of our 8 to 12 listeners at least has never noticed that on the record cover.
And that was the first time I ever heard mention of obelisk. When reading about this album cover, I'm like, what the hell is an obelisk? And you're like, oh, it's that. It's a phallic shaped flower vase. It could be a vase, yes, or it's just a inanimate object that you just sit around the table and stare at. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I think Ken was going to tell us he hadn't noticed it before.
I have not noticed that before. No, that's
See?
a new one. I'm looking that one up right now.
Yeah, see, I told you one of our 8 to 12, and he's one of our 8 to 12. It's actually more than that. That's just our inside joke. But anyway, I mean, that's kind of cool. Hypnosis is it's a neat story, and I can't remember which service it is, if it's like Netflix,
Rich.
Paramount, or whatever.
Okay, what's
It's a
funnier?
documentary.
Rich, do you have the album there with you?
It's downstairs.
Okay. So if you look in the gatefold, and I can see it because this is the 10 CD box set. So they have reprints of what's actually in the album cover. There is some hilarious poses with this obelisk. The weirdest looks like a doctor with a baby, and he is holding the obelisk. It's a little perverted. If I'm being real with you. One is on a golf course. This is weird, wild stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm so sorry to have derailed your record with artwork, but no, yeah,
Man, all of these are so freaking weird.
yeah. So everybody out there, you go check that. I'm sure you can just do a search on the internet and see the record cover and the inside. But back to the music. No, it's a solid rock and roll record. I mean, Led Zeppelin doesn't make anything bad. I prefer obviously Physical Graffiti before it. We talked about that last time, and I really love In Through the Outdoor, which comes after. And then I guess Song Remains the Same, the live albums in between. Code is probably the only thing that's weird because it's just a bunch of scraps they threw together in the early 80s to make some money. But anyway, no, I like the pick. You got any thoughts there, Ken?
I'm not overly familiar with the album. I have listened to it probably about a month ago. It was not their best. I actually think it was their worst. I did like Achilles' Last Stand. That one was a really good one. I could stand to listen to it again, but the rest of it just didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I
think
agree. I put it at the bottom for me. You're good.
Yeah, me too. Led Zeppelin 3 and 4 are my favorite. And like Immigrant Song, that's Led Zeppelin to me.
Yeah, and you're a heavy metal guy, and that's kind of like the very beginnings of that. If you had to point to one song, probably that one.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. Cool.
But the rest of it just didn't really care for it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not for everybody. I mean, I agree. It's at the bottom for me with them, but this is year by year. And I know, Clint, I know you're just like the big Led Zeppelin nerd. So
I think all of what you said is completely fair, though, because I would agree it's not their strongest album. But when I think about and Rich, getting ready to throw it to you, but when I think about what's kind of carried over through the course of time, I can always go back to this.
yeah.
And there's songs on here that I absolutely love that most people don't even know about. So, and that's the thing. It's what's important to you, what is significant to you. And after we go through our five, I am surprised as hell at some of the songs that I left out of my top five. I'm still shocked by.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a tough year. Yeah. All right. Well, cool. We're going to move on to my number five, which is The Pretender by Jackson Browne. And there's a lot wrapped up into this for me that it makes my list. Were there other albums around this time that could have made it in over that? Of course they could have, but the song The Pretender itself, it gets in just with that. It's just one of those songs, especially when you get older, you get it. It makes sense. It's an everyman song. It's just very very well written, and I can listen to Jackson Browne sing just about anything. He's got a great voice. There are other highlights on the album. There's the Here Come the Tears Again. That's the song about his wife who passed just before this. It's an interesting song too, because it doesn't sound super sad, but it is. And I think that's just a little bit more of why Jackson Browne's so great at songwriting. But no, really, just for me, it's the single, "The Pretender." We're going to put our dark glasses on, and we'll make love until our strength is gone. And when the morning light comes streaming in, we'll get up and do it again. Of course, there's the sexual part of that, but it's really, the whole song, you're going to get up and you're going to trudge through your day one more time, and this is the one thing you get at the end that makes it better. Well, not the one thing, but I mean, it's all sort of a metaphor for that thing that you need to keep moving on. To me, I'm sure that that's not exactly what he meant, but when I listen to that song, yes, I think about how, especially you're older and you have a family and you have a job and you have to make money and you have to keep things going, and it's all so tiring, and this song just, it soothes my tiredness because somebody else knows that it's going on.
Rich, we're all just happy idiots struggling for that legal tender.
I know. I mean, there's so many good lines in that song. It's I don't know. It's just one of those that there are lots of them, but I just feel like, hey, that was written for me. I know you're a Jackson Browne fan, Clint.
God, yeah, and I love the pick. This is like one of those that, well, it's kind of like the Led Zeppelin pick I just picked. I mean, I put Presidents in really for Achilles' Last Stand, and you're putting it in there really on the strength of The Pretender. But The Pretender is such a fantastically well written song. I think he knows when he writes, he really does. The songs just tell stories, and they just draw you in, and you're like, oh man, I have felt that before. I can relate to this song. And this is like one of the most relatable songs I've ever heard, honestly. As far as, I just joked about the happy idiot and struggling for the legal tender. Hey, hell, that's what we're all doing every day, folks. All of us are getting through our jobs, and we get frustrated as hell, but we got to do it again. Amen.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is just one of those where I could really just recite all the lyrics, just read them off and say, this is why I love it. But yeah, y'all go check out that song.
I heard this album for the first time on Friday.
Nice.
I had never heard anything from it. I did like The Fuse, and I liked The Pretender. It's not to say I didn't like the rest of it. I just didn't like it as much.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's hard to beat that one. I will say this is one of those records that I put the record on quite often, and it is a good one to just listen straight through. It probably comes off better that way, but yeah, if you're just going to listen to one song from it, it's definitely the title track. Okay, so that was my number five, and now we're up to Ken with his number five. What you got for us?
You thought you'd never have to hear this band on here again, but it's Kiss, Destroyer. I've heard this album. The first time I heard it was actually when I lived up in Tennessee. There was a member of my family who was a bit of a pack rat. He would go to yard sales and just buy them out. And there was all kinds of albums in the basement. And one thing he had was an 8-track tape of Destroyer. So the first time I heard this was on an 8-track. Had to deal with the breaks in the songs and all that good stuff. But I've loved it ever since then. And I really think this is their best album. Bob Ezrin is all over that album. And it's the first one where the songs were always there, but the sound wasn't until that album. And I don't think they ever really reclaimed that.
Bob Ezrin was the producer, right?
Yes.
Okay. I know.
He
I
also did The Wall and a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I not a big Kiss fan, but some of the big ones are here. I do
Now,
love.
I don't like the band,
You don't
but
like
I do like the music.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, sometimes you have to separate the artist from the art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout It Out Loud is like one of my top 3 Kiss songs that I like.
Same.
Yeah. And I like Beth because Sherry's middle name is Beth. And early in our relationship, I'd be at band practice and I'd call her and I'd start singing Beth.
Nice.
Oh goodness! So was this something that you like during high school? You were like big into this record, or was it like like give us a time frame when you really got into it?
Well, I started listening to Kiss around like 83. Now, in my house, it was all country. That's what both of my parents listened to. So I didn't have really any exposure to anything else until I started developing my own sense of taste.
Yeah.
And that came with Def Leppard's Pyromania was what started it. So then that was about the time that Lick It Up came out. So I really liked that album. And then Animalize came out after that, and I really liked it. So I started going back, and that's when I found that 8-track. So we're talking mid 80s is when I first heard it, and I really liked it.
You mentioned Lick It Up. Our band, we played, that was the only Kiss song we played, and it was always a big hit at a gig. People loved that song.
Huh. I love that song too.
So Clint, I know you've got a little love for Kiss. I bet you like this record. No?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your pause scared me. I thought it was.
Well, I had to go off mute, but no, man, Shout It Out Loud. God, that's a great song, man. Love the guitar at the beginning of that song. And when I was talking about their debut album, Beth, that's that's the song that got my dad in trouble, allegedly, when he was growing up because they say damn in it. It's just funny. So that was the album. That's the album that his forbidden album that he had to sneak around and listen to. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, Detroit Rock City's on that too. God
of Thunder.
God of Thunder, yeah. Good album. Good stuff, man. Love the pick.
Yeah, there's like some of the iconic stuff. So Ken, you said you think it's their best album.
Yes.
What do you think is the best song on their best album here?
Shout It Out Loud.
Okay. Yeah, so we're definitely all in agreement there. And let's talk artwork again. What a cool cover! That's iconic.
Yeah, they actually had an original cover which they had to change because it was a little bit more destructive looking in the original, and the record label thought it was too much, so they made them change it.
Yeah, I just anytime I think of Kiss, I kind of think of this record cover for some reason. It's
this or Love Gun.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. No, man, I like it. I like the pick because if you weren't on here, we wouldn't be talking about it. All right. Well, Clint, that means you're up with your number 4, which is also my number 4.
Oh, okay, cool. That's right. All right, what's The Royal Scam by Steely Dan? The Dan. Okay, so this album has one of their best songs in Kid Charlemagne. with an all-time guitar solo. Larry Carlton, right?
That's it.
That's got his name right. Yes.
Not Steve, like I sometimes say.
Not Steve Carlton. He went in and pitched 9 innings and laid down a tasty guitar solo. No, not the same guy. So this is another in every Dan album, especially in this stretch, is one where you just play the whole album. And there's probably songs you never heard of. You never heard of in the first place. The second track on the album, The Caves of Altamara. Oh, just an awesome song. It's just the whole thing. Excellent. Excellent. And some funny, I mean, just some wild stories with lyrics. A song called Haitian Divorce. I mean, if that doesn't draw you in, I mean, the Fez, the Royal Scam, so much controversy on this album. Maybe this is what inspired Prince, Rich. I don't know. But I have a fun story about Kid Charlemagne, though. In college, and I had been listening to Steely Dan. I had been introduced to Steely Dan in college. And we're talking, this was probably either 2005, 2006, or 2007, somewhere around there, probably 2006. I was already at Tennessee Tech in Cookeville, and I had to go see my professor just to meet with him, ask him something. It was a very tough course. He was my thermodynamics teacher, 1 and 2. That's a tough course. He was one of the best professors I ever had, though. He did an excellent job of teaching, taking notes. He took notes while he taught, so you knew exactly what you needed to take down. Really appreciate that, man. His name was Dr. Visco. He went from there, and I think he went and ended up being like chemical engineering chair at University of Buffalo or somewhere. Really cool guy. Anyway, when I came in there to his office hours, he was listening to this song real low, like he didn't want anybody knowing. But I'm like, I got you, man. And it was Kid Charlemagne he was listening to. And I just, I don't think I knew enough about Steely Dan, and I was comfortable enough with how much I liked them to be able to strike up much of a conversation with him about it. But I was just like, okay, I associate you with good music. So there you go.
Yeah, Steely Dan obviously shows up almost every year for us. When there's a release, it's on one of our lists, or usually both. And they're one of those bands that a lot of people, kind of think you're goofy if you like them or whatever, because they are so different. I mean, they're rock, pop, jazz. They even got some songs that sound a little country sometimes. I mean, it's just Fagan and Becker, that's what they did. I just think that they were out to do what they wanted to do. We'll talk about that with somebody else's pick, doing what you want to do in spite of what a record company thinks. And they did that, and they did well with it. And Kid Charlemagne is one of their best songs. Totally agree. The Fez is great, but also, like you said, if you're going to listen to a Steely Dan record, you listen to the record. They're a vibe. Like, that's just the best thing I can say. For me, they're a vibe. I feel a certain way when I'm listening to them. And so that's why they're they're always going to be on my list. By this time, they're fully the Dan. This is who they are now. We started out with, the early songs, Dirty Work and that kind of stuff. And now we've moved into this jazz rock fusion thing. And of course, next year on the next podcast is when we get the absolute timeless masterpiece.
Yes.
No, it's just this is another record that I heard growing up. My dad was a huge Steely Dan fan. I always heard this music. So usually if music's involved, it's a better memory than a lot of my childhood memories. So I know it's just, this stuff always has a place in my heart. I've said it before. Their music sounds like my childhood, like the better parts of it. So, Ken, was this the first time you listened to this one too?
Yeah, on Friday.
Yes.
And it's the second Steely Dan album I've listened to after Pretzel Logic. I like this one better than I like that one.
Agree.
There's nothing that really stands out that much for me. I did like Green Earrings. I thought the guitar solo on that was really, really good.
Yeah, I think that's another Larry Carlton guitar solo too. He's amazing. Look him up. You'll get into it.
I'm familiar with him.
Nope, actually that was Denny Diaz.
I could put this on and sit back and listen to it, especially a day like today when it's stormy and everything's kind of chill.
Yep, that's it.
So I mean, there's nothing offensive about it, of course.
Right.
I mean, it's not something I would normally gravitate towards.
Yeah.
But I did like it.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. Even though I love it so much, there's not, other than Kid Charlemagne for me, there's nothing that's like really earth-shattering, groundbreaking. It's just a vibe. It's just like you said, put it on and chill. Matter of fact, on Spotify, one of my playlists is called Chill Music, and it's heavily peppered with Steely Dan amongst a lot of other things. But no, this is definitely chill music. Cool, man. I'm just so glad that we got you listening, even if that's the only time you ever listen.
Y'all have gotten to listen to quite a few things that I've never heard before over
Yeah,
these podcasts.
That's so great. And you're returning the favor for us, which is a good segue into your number 4 pick.
Judas Priest, Sad Wings of Destiny. It's their second album. It's the first one where they really started to sound like Judas Priest, but they're also kind of proggy. They've got long songs with a bunch of different sections, and it'll go from slow and heavier and back, and then off onto some weird tangent. It's really sad that they kind of lost that. But this was an album that I've been familiar with for quite a while, probably since the mid '90s. First time I heard it, and there's really not a bad song on it, in my opinion.
I would agree with that. And this was like the first time I've listened to this record. I talked to you earlier and I made some notes. One of them is that this record, it reminds me of all the things that I love about mid 70s heavy music or heavy metal. I don't know that it's metal yet, but it's definitely heavy music compared to what's before it.
Yeah, I mean, considering everything else that was around that time, I think it's safe to call it metal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure.
They're not like they are now, but
right. The other note that I made about this is you can see how much, probably particularly this record, I'm sure others that followed it, but like you said, this is the first time they really sound like Judas Priest. I can listen to this and hear this in stuff all the way through the 80s. Like people obviously listened to this. Like there was, I don't remember the song, but it was one of the slower ones, and it started. I can't remember if it was clean guitar. I wasn't. There's no acoustic on here, so it had to just be a clean guitar. And I'm like, this sounds like slow Metallica stuff to me, at least at the very beginning. And then it changed because, like you said, they were a little bit proggy, in that like none of those songs stayed completely the same all the way through, which I also loved. I didn't make that note, but that was another cool part of it.
I mean, there's even one song on here, Epitaph. It's all piano with layered vocals over it. No guitar, no anything else. It's just piano and singing. And that's probably the only time you ever hear that out of Judas Priest.
Oh yeah, for sure. I know that I haven't. Of course, this record starts out just fucking amazing with "Victim of Changes" and "The Ripper." I mean, what a 1-2 punch to start a record with.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of reaction channels on YouTube. People that have never heard Judas Priest will start and they'll listen to this song, and that first line, and their jaw just drops. It's like, how could any human sound like that?
Oh, he's definitely a one of a kind. What do you got, Clint? What are you thinking?
I don't have a lot to add. So Judas Priest is not a band that I've really delved into very deeply. But I want to make a comment. You said slow down Metallica. Go listen to Dreamer Deceiver and not tell me that doesn't sound like Nothing Else Matters.
That was the
Yeah.
one. That was it. That was the song.
I'm
That's
like,
the best song on there.
I
yeah.
agree. I agree. That's the one that grabbed me. I mean, well, yeah, and it's third on the record. So yeah, just what a side A, right?
Yeah.
No, I was impressed. I have really only knew like 80s Judas Priest. I didn't know anything about them from the 70s. And then I went into a rabbit hole a couple of days ago, and then saw that I went back to their first album, and I was looking at some old video, and I'm like, man, these dudes changed big time. So yeah, definitely, I definitely had a crash course. Of course, it was self-led. It would have probably been better if somebody who really knows Judas Priest was leading me through it. But again, sometimes you just go back to the beginning and listen to all the records.
That's what I like to do.
I've got some homework to do then.
Yeah,
Their 70s stuff is really their best stuff.
Okay.
yeah, and just boo on me. I never it never occurred to me to go back to listen to their 70s stuff until now. So
I only did it for the first time over the summer. I mean, this is one album that I've heard, and I heard Stained Class, which is another excellent album. But those are the only two 70s albums I had ever heard for this past summer. Going back and listening to it, I mean, I first got into Judas Priest with the Turbo album, which most Judas Priest fans absolutely hate. And I get that. I mean, it's synthesizers and they kind of glammed it up a bit. So that's what was popular at the time. And then once I heard that, I went back to Screaming for Vengeance and Defenders of the Faith, and then kept going further back. But I never went further back than British Steel, which was 1980. And then I just felt like I missed out on so much over all those years because I ended up liking the 70s more than I liked the 80s for them.
I like this, so I'm definitely going to check them out a little bit more.
Oh, you'll like the rest of it then.
Okay, cool, awesome. That's what I want to hear. Don't want to be wasting my time. I'm just kidding. I know it's not a waste. It's never wasted time to listen to anything new. All right, cool. That was Judas Priest, and I just love the name of the record, "Sad Wings of Destiny." That's amazing. All right, Clint. I think we're right back to you because of the double before.
Yeah. How about we just do a complete 180 of Judas Priest? How about we do that? I'm going with a new world record by Electric Light Orchestra. Some people may know them as Jeff Lynne's Electric Light Orchestra. I think when they first came out, that's what they went by. I don't know where to begin with Jeff Lynne, who is the man, the myth, the legend behind ELO. But the first thing you should probably know is he was a big fan of the Beatles. And you should, if you've heard any of his songs and you think about it, that would become quite obvious to you. But this album has my favorite ELO song on it, and Do Ya. I think I've texted Rich lyrics from this song at random times just for funsies. Woman! But it's also got songs that probably most people have heard of and may not known it was ELO, like Telephone Line, which they used in Billy Madison. We were talking about that before we started recording. Steve Buscemi, his little brief moment in the movie, he's just being a freaking weirdo, and while he's listening to that song, I know what he was doing. He was putting lipstick on, and anyway, it was. I haven't seen that movie in a bit. And then Living Thing. Hell, I think when I was watching My Name Is Earl, that show, I remember that they use that song in the episode. Tightrope, Rockaria, So Fine is a great song. Oh man, there's so many good ones. Shangri-La. I don't know. I've kind of the person who got me into ELO was Hoosh, my buddy Hoosh, with Strange Magic and Sweet Talking Woman. And then me and Jason, my friend Jason Cole and I listened to a lot of ELO together. But yeah, they've always kind of hung around, but I kind of took a deeper dive a year or two ago, and this album, you know what? This album snuck in there for me, and it's at number 3. It's solidly, and it's a great album. I encourage you to go listen to it. Thoughts?
Yeah, my mom had this album. She was a big fan. She had all their albums. So I when I was listening to this week in preparation, it took me back because we would listen to it on the turntable. So it was straight through side A or side B. And so it really took me back. Like I knew the next song coming, like because it was ingrained in me. Because if my mom liked an album, she liked that album and listened to it on repeat constantly. Like Born in the USA, that record is a good record, but my God, I've probably heard it way too many times. Anyway, that's just side note there. But no, Telephone Line, Living Thing, Do Ya? They were on the radio. Again, it's I say it all the time, but especially while we're in the 70s, this sounds like my childhood. And Jeff Lynne's amazing producer, musician, songwriter. He's done it all, and a huge, like you said, huge disciple of the Beatles. He's done a lot of work with the Beatles over the years. Tom Petty. I mean, you can just name people.
Traveling Wilburys with George Harrison. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, just a pretty prolific dude. This is sort of this music is a lot, and you were talking about doing a 180 from Judas Priest. Well, it's also like it's a 180 from Led Zeppelin, and it's a 180 from some other stuff that we have on all. This and another record that's going to come up later is really the beginning of like the power pop rock stuff. This is this, and we're going to get to a very epic one later. But while you had so much of this other stuff, Led Zeppelin, the metal stuff, there's it was rock and roll was a little after the Beatles and up until now, like rock and roll got heavy.
Yeah.
And it stayed heavy, but then the reaction was stuff like this and stuff like something we'll talk about in a minute. I just don't want to spoil it, but I'm really looking forward to talking about that record.
Before we go to Ken, though, I want to say something though. I'm so envious of you, Rich, in that how you grew up. These albums were on the turntable. This is the music you got to hear, because I could identify with Ken when he said that most of what he heard growing up was country. My mother would listen to I listened to enough Reba McEntire to kill a man. Okay. So I never want to. I mean, she's great. Respect her as an artist, as a woman, as an actress, all the things she's accomplished. However, I've heard quite a bit and enough of her country music, and I would have loved anything to have just been walking around the house hearing something like that on the turntable.
No, believe me, I know that I was lucky. That's why I say, even though there were lots of not so great things about my childhood, the one thing that was always good was music. And that was my big escape. It's one of the things that my parents did give me that was has just carried me all the way through life. So, Ken, I think we sprung this one on you.
Yeah, you didn't tell me this one's coming up, so I didn't listen to it. I think I've heard Telephone Line, although I couldn't tell you what it sounded like because it's been a while. But that one sounds familiar. Do Ya? I have heard it, but not by ELO. Ace Frehley did a cover of this back in the 80s.
Right. That's right. I actually remember that.
And I've heard Ace Frehley's cover of this, but I have not heard ELO's. Now I've heard 3 or 4 ELO albums, just not this one.
Okay, yeah.
I like them. I started diving into them because of Discovery. Don't Bring Me Down, which I've heard a billion times. But this one, I just don't really have much to say about because to my knowledge, I've only definitely heard one song, maybe another, and the rest of them, if I've heard them, I didn't know it was them.
No, that's a good reminder about Ace Frehley, because now I want to go back and listen to his. because it's actually not bad.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Were you aware of that, Clint?
I did not know he covered that. That's listening to it. However, Ken, all due respect to Mr. Fraley, ELO does it better.
I can believe that.
Oh,
But
my
he's
God.
always been he's the one person from Kiss that I always liked.
Yeah, because
His personality.
he got to leave.
Have you seen that? Kind of derailing here, but have you seen that Tom Snyder Halloween interview with Kiss from the 70s?
Yes, I have.
That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Ace was drunk as hell,
Yep.
just goofing off. Peter Criss was just, I don't know where he was. Gene Simmons was just hated everybody at that point. And Paul Stanley was just trying to be diplomatic.
Yeah.
And I watched it again a month or so ago, right about the time that they did that finale show. And the comments on the YouTube video pretty much summed up the band for me. It says Paul Stanley takes the band too seriously. Gene Simmons takes himself too seriously. Ace Frehley doesn't take anything seriously. Peter Criss, meow, I'm a kitty cat.
That's great. Oh,
And that pretty much sums them up for me.
That's pretty good. I love that. oh my God, that's perfect. Yeah, I'm with it. I'm with it. All right, that was ELO's A New World Record. So now we get to my number 3, and let's just again take something all the way into a completely different record with Stevie Wonder and Songs in the Key of Life, which is it's just an all-time record. It's probably in the top 10 or 20 of all-time records on lots of lists. It's one of those. And again, this was something that I heard growing up. I don't know who had a Stevie Wonder record, but I do remember hearing, of course, it was a lot on the radio too, because, you had Isn't She Lovely and Sir Duke. I remember that, but I don't think it was on the radio, but I remember that from back in the day. This is just, it's Stevie Wonder at his Stevie Wonder best. It's another one of those, it's a double album, so it's a long listen. Well, longish, I'm missing songs. I Wish, Knocks Me Off My Feet. It's just an amazing R&B pop record. It's a record that I actually put on quite often, several times a year. I love Stevie Wonder. Also, when I was I don't know, yeah, I guess I was 9. I was in 4th grade, and I was into reading biographies. And it was like you could go to the library, and they had like the biographies for kids to read. Sort of like a little chapter book, and just kind of gave you an overall on somebody's life. That's why I'm now Las Vegas Raiders fan. Is that very same year I read one on Jim Plunkett, and that's how I became a fan of the Raiders, because I loved him from that book. Well, another one that I read that year was Stevie Wonder, and I just think that Stevie Wonder is a national treasure, and this record is, maybe the best of all of them. It did have 6 singles released: I Wish, Isn't She Lovely, Sir Duke, Another Star, and As. I don't remember Another Star, but I guarantee you I heard the other ones on the radio, because even if there wasn't a record player playing, the radio was on in the car. And yeah, again, this is a pick for me because it's great, and it reminds me of being a kid.
I love the pick, Rich. That told you a story a while back. Claire gets in the van, and a lot of times I just hand her my phone. She goes, I want to pick a song and play. I said, okay. And I just load up Spotify, and she plays Sir Duke. I'm like, how do you know about Stevie Wonder? And she's like, oh, we learned about him today in school, and I really like this song. And I'm like, that's an excellent song. I said, you play all the Stevie Wonder you want, Claire.
Great. And her school's doing something right.
Yeah. They've got I mean, my kids have got pretty good music taste, so I'm pretty proud of that.
One more thing I'll say, and then I'm going to let Ken give some thoughts. Just my last thought on this. The song "Isn't She Lovely"? I remember the first time I heard that shortly after Brianna was born, and it just broke me down because that song was about his daughter. You know, a lot of people think it's a love song, but it's about the birth of his daughter. And I don't know, man. You know, the elephant in the room. He's blind, but he's singing this amazing song about this daughter that was just born that he'll never get to see. And I'm just thinking, what kind of alien does it take to write something that beautiful that 25 years down the road, I hear it after my daughter's been born, and I'm just a puddle of tears, you know? I mean, it speaks to how, great he is. We throw that genius word around a lot. He's one of them. So that was my last thought there, and I'll let Ken get in.
Oh, this is another one that I heard for the first time on Friday. Obviously, this is not something that I would normally go for. I liked it. I will say that I liked it. I didn't love it, but I mean, it should come as no surprise that "Contusion" is probably my favorite thing on there. The guitar solo, Michael Cimbello, and I didn't even know he played guitar. But I heard that, and it's like, wow, that was not something I was expecting at all. And I thought that was really fantastic. But the other song on here I really, really liked was Sir Duke. And yeah, there's a few of these I've heard before. But Sir Duke, I mean, it just has an exuberance, is the only word I can think of. And I just really, really like that. Of course, I've heard "Isn't She Lovely?" And then I heard "Pastime Paradise." And the entire time through it, all I could think of was Weird Al. And I'm sure you know where that's coming from.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny, kid.
I saw a video on TikTok just this morning when I was doom scrolling, and it was the background music was Amish Paradise.
Oh man,
I think that means I'm supposed to go watch that old video now. Yeah, so if you ever get to check out more Stevie, he has all the best musicians, and he himself is an amazing musician. And if you look at all the musicians that played on this record, it's like 2 pages worth or something crazy.
Yeah.
He does have a lot of songs that have some really good guitar work in them. And I'm with you, Sir Duke's it's a great song. It's jazzy and funky, and it grooves, and I like that word exuberance. That's a good word for it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's other stuff by him that's in that vein, I would love it.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of good stuff like that. I'll try and put you a playlist together or something sometime.
Yeah, definitely. I'd appreciate that. Because I really, really liked it. The rest of it, I mean, if it was, I wouldn't get up and leave. But I I I wouldn't sit down ever and actually listen to this on my own.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Different strokes.
I mean, that's not to say that it wasn't good. It's
Yeah.
just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, well, once again, we're going to do a 180 and go from Stevie Wonder to Ken's number 3 pick.
My number 3 is "Rising" by Rainbow. Ronnie James Dio is probably my favorite singer. There's just something about his voice that I've just always really loved, from his solo stuff to the stuff he did with Black Sabbath. I even heard him do something with one of the guys from Kansas after he had left Kansas and did a solo record. Dio did some stuff on it. And I heard this album for the first time maybe about a year ago. I had heard of Stargazer, but I'd never actually sat down and listened to it. And once I heard that, that was it. That is just such a fantastic song that it just takes my breath away. It's one of those that gives me chills. And it's Richie Blackmore from Deep Purple after he had left Deep Purple. And I generally like him. I mean, I don't know a lot because I haven't done really a deep dive into much Deep Purple up to this point. But he's still a really good guitarist, and some of the stuff on that album that he does is just fantastic. But everything about Stargazer is just top notch for me.
I actually love this album now. Like I've listened to this like 3 or 4 times since you sent it along.
Nice.
And you mentioned Stargazer, and like I've got, you know, I made these notes. Like I went front and back on this one, and you can't really see it, but right here I've got Stargazer, fucking awesome. It's yeah, what a great song. Like it's so heavy. It's got that epic middle section. It's a really good song. The other one that I really liked a lot was Run with the Wolves.
Yeah.
And I also the opening song, Terror Woman, I love that freaky synth at the beginning to start the record. Anytime somebody starts a record, has the balls to start a record that way, I'm always all in. It's just like I said, I made all kinds of notes, and now I don't even know what I want to say from them. But you know, Richie Blackmore is a really good guitar player. I think he's one of those guys that's like really hard to get along with too. Matter of fact, I read that before this, you know, when he started Rainbow, and I know a good bit about Rainbow. I've liked them for a long time. It's been a long time, right? And I know it was basically Ronnie James Dio's band Elf that kind of became Rainbow when, you know, Richie Blackmore brought them all in. And then after the first record, he fired all of them except for RJD and, you know, started over. And then I know they had many incarnations after this, even without Dio, and even some of that stuff's really good. But I would have to say, of everything that I know about Rainbow, this is like now my favorite record by them. It's just good from top to bottom. I mean, I literally made notes on every song because as I listened, I liked it that much. Yeah, and you know, it's like do you close your eyes, man? What a rocker that one is. I mean, it's one of those. It's like a blueprint type song. Like I know that other people in music heard that song because it sounds like things that came later. So obviously they were, you know, even though they weren't that big of a deal at the time, they were influencing people later. But anyway, I love this pick. Now I love this album. It's something I'll probably listen to a lot. What do you think, Clint? You don't even know, do you?
No, I don't. My mind's just blown. I just thought Ronnie James Dio was a cartoon character, honestly. And I'm sorry, I was wrong. Who was this drummer?
Was it
Holy
Cozy
shit.
Powell?
The
Yeah,
drummer.
yeah. I mean, he's a no name. Never heard of him. Dude can play.
Let's see. It is.
Cozy Powell. That's his name.
Oh
He
yeah, no,
played. He
in
was in White Snake, as well as Rainbow, the Jeff Beck group, and played Black Sabbath later on. Looks like.
there's a lot of those guys that you've never heard of that have done like so much good stuff. Yeah, I remember him being in Whitesnake. Yeah, Clint, if you haven't gotten to listen yet, I do think this is something you're going to dig.
Well, I've been over cheating on Spotify while y'all are talking. I've been listening, and so yeah, Stargazer. That's a banger. That's a good song. That's why I was like, man, that drum solo to start that song, man, that's something else.
No, I would say, Ken, out of all your picks, other than your number one, this is my favorite of your picks.
Cool.
Yeah, like I said, but the number one can't even really count because we're going to get there. I'm glad you picked it. I wanted to. I'm glad it's on.
All 5 of mine were hard to put in order.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of the way I think we kind of operate that way too. It's in no particular order. But
I mean, I have kind of a nerdy way of doing it.
yeah,
What I've been doing is I have a spreadsheet and I'll list all the songs and I'll run through and listen to each one and I'll rate each song and then just average it out for an album score.
oh, that's pretty good. That's actually way nerdier than me.
Yeah, you win.
And then some of them I even like for a couple of the, like I think you mentioned, no, we haven't talked about that yet. But some of the albums where like one song is over half the album, and I didn't like that song, but I like the other three.
Yeah.
That kind of throws it. So I've actually got a formula where I broke it down into this song is this many seconds, and I liked it this much, so therefore it gets the score.
Ken, I'm a big fan of you, man.
Yeah, he's our people.
My people.
Complete nerd.
And he
My
has
people.
He has his own spreadsheet too. So
My people.
no, great pick. I'm a big fan of this album now. So Clint, what do you have for your number 2?
Oh, buddy. What is it for you? My number 2 is also your number 2.
1.
No, it's your number 1.
Your number 1.
Let's go Wings Over America by Wings. That's not Paul. He would never have described that. Speaking of Paul, I don't know if you he had an interview here recently where somebody asked, this is timely, about a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame podcast. Somebody asked him about Foreigner, and let's just say he was very surprised they weren't in the Hall of Fame already.
I saw that. He's like fuck's sake or something. I don't know. What did he say? He was
Yeah,
like,
that's pretty much what he said. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah, I think
God,
I'm scarred for life.
I love Paul.
I do too.
Well, we know that. Gosh,
I
it's the
know.
most obvious thing on this podcast, right? That we love Paul McCartney. Why'd I pick this? So actually, I almost didn't pick it because it's a live album, but then I thought a little bit more critically of how significant this album is, because this is the first time he toured in the United States since the Beatles. Is that correct?
It is. It's also a first time for something else that you're probably going to say.
I might leave that to you.
Okay.
Oh, no, I think I know what you're going to say. There's a lot of songs on this album that are Beatles songs that they'd never performed live before.
Exactly.
And I don't even know where to start. Rich, why don't you jump in for a second, buddy? Because I don't want to steal. This is your number 1.
Okay, I will jump in, and here's what I'm going to say. It is my number 1. At one point, I also had Speed of Sound in my list, but I really didn't want to have 2 Wings records, and so it was really tough on me. Like, which one am I going to leave in? I ended up leaving in this one, even though it's live, but it has Let 'Em In, Silly Love Songs, Time to Hide, Beware My Love, which come from Speed of Sound. All of them wonderful songs. Like Let 'Em In is such a good. I just love that song so much. It's one of those that makes me feel good. And Silly Love Songs too, of course. It's funny because it was a response to both John Lennon and kind of the music industry at large about how he was writing. All he wants to do is write love songs. And not only did he do this song and write it as a response, he freaking killed it. When you think about the bass line in that song, you think about the middle section where they're rounding in with three different lines. The way the whole song grooves, of course, it's the bass. I mean, it's one of the best bass lines ever, and it's just a silly love songs pop song. But I put it in because of that the 4 most important songs from Speed of Sound are on it. The fact that he was doing Blackbird and what else? Long and Winding Road and Lady Madonna.
Yes.
The 3 had never been done live. This was also the first time that on a prolonged tour he did Beatles songs since the breakup.
Yeah.
So this is it's a really important album. It was a huge album. It did very well. It spun off the Rock Show video. He does all the songs that I would want him to do. He starts the show with Venus and Mars into Rock Show into Jet. Come on.
I know. It's such a great intro to I mean, if you were at that live show and that's how the freaking thing started, and then into Let Me Roll It.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then that stupid Denny Lane song and that stupid Jimmy McCullough. I'm just kidding.
They're not the best songs. They're okay.
But I've got a million more things, but I'm only going to say one more, and then I'm going to throw it back to you. So now that you got your head collected, this is one that's hard to like get your mind going because there's so much. Maybe I'm amazed. This is the best version of that song. It got released as a single and hit big, years after it was on McCartney 1. Was that on that was on McCartney 1?
Yeah. Yes.
So that was 1970.
Correct.
Yeah. So all these years later, he does a live version and it hits huge. This is on the heels of Frampton Comes Alive. So this is like these big mega concert live albums were kind of a thing. And I would even say this is this is better than Frampton Comes Alive, and we know what everybody thinks about that record.
Oh yeah.
But Paul McCartney had a lot more to pull from with his live show. When you think about everything that he had done solo to that point, and then you add in doing Beatles songs, his Long and Winding Road on there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so good. And I'm never going to not sound like a homer when it comes to McCartney.
Me
But
either.
it's a nice piece of work.
Absolutely. If you think about Live and Let Die off this, that birth, I mean, I think this is what birthed, Guns N' Roses later on covering this song. I mean, even though the live album of this live version of this song sounds really similar to the studio version, there's this excitement that you can build with the song.
So, I got to go see McCartney a couple of years ago, and he did Live and Let Die. And the excitement is the show on Live and Let Die. And he did it then, and he still does it now. And I knew it was coming. Sherry did not. Like, I knew when the pyro was going to start and the loud bangs and the flames in the air, it scared the shit out of her. But it also, I knew it was coming, and it scared the shit out of me a little bit. But yes, Live and Let Die, when he does it live, whether it was then, now, whatever, it's a production.
Absolutely.
And it almost made Sherry pee her pants.
Oh, I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. He's fantastic. I mean, we both love him as an artist. This is one of the few times you get to hear Jimmy McCullough because he wasn't in the band very long, and he was a great guitar player for a short period of time.
I know I'm sounding like a broken record with this, but I heard this for the first time on Friday. I'm not really familiar with Wings. I'm not really familiar with all that much from the Beatles, for that matter. I do like their later albums, from, I don't know, whenever they got drugged out on
Revolver,
and they started getting weird. That's the stuff I like.
Yeah, Revolver, Rubber Soul. That's the stuff that I like the most too.
Now, my mom had Beatles albums at the house. I never heard her listen to any of them, but she only had the early ones because she didn't like the later stuff when they got weird. I didn't like the early ones, but I did like the later stuff. And the only Beatles album I've ever heard all the way through was the White Album. And that was back when I was in high school, and I didn't really care for it. But at that time, I was like into Metallica, Iron Maiden, that kind of stuff. So obviously, that's not going to really resonate with me. I need to go back and listen to them, and I intend to. I don't like live albums generally. There's a few, but I tend to gravitate more towards the studio albums. There are a couple of songs. There are a couple of songs on here that I knew. Band on the Run, Live and Let Die. I'm a huge James Bond fan, so I've heard it. There's a few other ones that I weren't aware that I had heard, like Silly Love Songs I really liked. Maybe I'm Amazed is probably my favorite thing on this album. This was better than I thought it would be, just because, not being that familiar with anything Beatles related and not being a fan of live albums. Taking that in consideration, I actually kind of liked this. It was a little overlong. I mean, it took quite a while to get through that, but But again, there's probably 6 songs on here that I really, really liked.
Cool.
The rest of it, I could listen to. And after listening to this, I'll probably go back and listen to some more of the Wings stuff. Because I've heard mainly because of you and what you've been saying over the past few podcasts.
Yeah.
About how much you like McCartney, how much you like Wings, and blah 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 blah. So I've gone through and I listened to a couple of things. Like I listened to Band on the Run a couple of weeks ago, and Hell on Wheels, which I didn't like at all. And I'm listening to those. I'm thinking, yeah. But then, to be fair, I listened to this, and I liked it.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm Amazed is probably the standout here. If I had to pick one.
Yeah, I'd heard that one before, and I always liked it. I just didn't. I should have known who it was. It's McCartney. You can definitely hear it.
Yeah.
But I guess I never just put that much thought into it.
It's really cool to hear perspective of somebody for Ken, there's not really a Beatles listener or know much of Wings and the songs you gravitate to. And I'm glad you listened to Band on the Run, because that would have been in my album I would have recommended that you listen to if you really hadn't listened to much of their stuff before.
All right. Well, that was Clint's number 2, my number 1. And so now we're to Ken's number 2, which it helps Clint out because he didn't get to put it in his 5, and I know he'll like to talk about it. So what's up, Ken? What you got?
My number 2 is 2112 by Rush. Rush is one of those bands that took a while for me. I first heard them with Tom Sawyer back in the 80s, because that video was on MTV a lot. And I didn't like it. And then after that was the next thing I heard was Distant Early Warning. I definitely didn't like that. And so I just kind of gave up on it for a while. And eventually I started listening to Spirit of Radio. I thought, okay, that's fantastic. So that kind of got me over his voice. And then I started going back and I heard 2112 for the first time maybe 10, 15 years ago, and really liked it. And one thing I will say, a 20-minute song is a lot to ask for me, but that's one that I actually like. I didn't think it was overlong. I didn't think it was too much. I just liked the whole thing. There's only one song on here that I didn't love, which was Lessons, and I still really liked it. Passage to Bangkok is probably my favorite thing on here, and Something for Nothing is probably a close second on that.
I totally agree, Ken. So I'm a huge Rush fan, and I cannot believe I couldn't put them in there. And the reason for it, and you named it, you named my favorite era of Rush when you mentioned the Spirit of Radio. When it comes to about hemispheres, to permanent waves, to moving pictures, signals. I could go on and on and on, and I'm going to go on and on and on about Signals when we get to 1982. That's my jam with Rush. And I love all the other stuff, but it's in my favorite song on the album, I'm with you, Passage to Bangkok. It's not an album I want to go back to all the time. It's kind of like fun for me to listen to every once in a while, but there's no questioning the greatness of Rush, right? Something for Nothing. Oh, it's really good too. I don't know. Now I'm having a regret on some of my list here. This is just a hard year, man.
Yeah, it was.
Jeez. Great pick. I love it.
I actually made some good notes on this one too. My first comment is, attention, all planets of the Solar Federation. We have assumed
control.
Funny thing, the way they repeat those, it's each one of those lines is repeated three times.
Yeah.
So it's three repeats of 7 words, and then 3 repeats of 4 words. 21, 12.
Oh, damn it!
They say that wasn't intentional, but
whatever. So I got a snarky comment about those lines. You know why I love them so much? Because 2112 was over. It was the end of the song. I'm being a little facetious. I like Rush. One of my other notes is proggity prog prog prog.
Oh yeah.
It's
It gets
progtastic.
it gets no proggier than this. Also, reading about it too, I was actually refreshing my memory. There's a documentary that was out not too long ago about Rush, and it was on 2112 and how it changed their fortunes because they were flat broke. Record company wanted to drop them. Fans in chaos, and so their manager talked the record company into one more album, and he said, but they really want something commercial, and they didn't let anybody listen to it until they were done, and it was this. So they were just like, "Fuck you, we're gonna do what we want to do," which that makes a lot of sense. Neil Peart was into objectivism and Ayn Rand and self-determinism and all that kind of stuff, which I don't really get into either. But you mentioned Lessons, and that was, Bangkok's a good song too, but I liked Lessons a lot because it was like proggy Led Zeppelin to me. I was just sort of vibing with it. I guess that would make sense. Not being a Rush fan, I would probably like the thing that most Rush people don't like. You said it, Clint. You can't deny the greatness. I mean, amazing musicians, writers, just and even if I don't like this record, we might not have had any more Rush without it doing so well. So it's a good pick. I mean that's an important record, not just for them, but really kind of in the history of rock and roll. Simply because you've got this great band, these amazing musicians that are about to be done, and then they pull this out. So
I didn't know that about their fortunes. That's really interesting. So
I only knew because of that documentary I watched.
that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Learn something every day. Love it.
Okay, so now we're at my number 2, Clint's number 1. So I'm going to let you start, even though I'm up. No, you're up. I'm up, but I'm going to let you start, and that's how it goes.
Now that we're all thoroughly confused,
Start that.
my
over.
number one. No. I love it. Keep it in. My number 1, Richie's number 2, Hotel California by the Eagles. One thing you ought to do if you listen to vinyl, buy a good copy of the albums or a new copy, a new repressing of the albums that really mean a lot to you. Because it makes such a difference. I talked about this. Maybe we talked about this on a previous episode, but and I think we did, listen to a record through headphones. I'm just in awe of Hotel California, the album, the whole album. Yes, the title song is so iconic and you've heard it a million times, but let me tell you something. I bet every one of yous are stop on the radio dial the second half of that song because you want to hear them jam out at the end of that song. I remember, they did an early music video of this, and I guess VH1 probably played it more than MTV did because VH1 would play more classic rock music videos. And I remember flipping the channels with my Uncle Mark when I was staying over at my grandmother's house. And we flipped it, and it's at the end of it got to the very end of Hotel California, the yes, you know that part. He's like, well, we're just in time to hear the best part of that song. I'm like, well, yeah, we are. It's all good, but that's really good too. New Kid in Town. That's the only Glenn Fry song on the album, but God, it's one of my favorite Eagles songs. This is the first Eagles album that I just love. I think Take It to the Limit's pretty good. I thought we talked a little bit about that in the 1975 episode, but this album is it. It's everything. It's the first album with Joe Walsh. So the lineup at this time is Don Henley on drums and sings most of the songs. Glenn Fry plays guitar and vocals. Randy Meisner, I think, is playing bass and doing vocals, and then Joe Walsh and Don Felder. Both Don Felder and Joe Walsh are playing lead guitar. I mean, Joe Walsh actually could play anything.
Yeah.
You just put him in front of an instrument. But those five guys are just unbelievable together on this album. Everything is so good. Victim of Love is an incredible song. Life in the Fast Lane. And Wasted Time is just an epic masterpiece. And Rich, I have to, and I texted this to you. And if Andrew's listening to this, I want him to think about this. And if he agrees, the one Randy Meisner song on this album, Try and Love Again, sounds like an Andrew Scotchy song.
I haven't thought about that, but
Go back and listen and see what you think. I may be crazy. You may be right. I may be crazy. But, oh, but, yeah, that's what I love when you go back and listen to something and you start trying to, you hear what people have been influenced by. And there's so much on Hotel California. I can talk about it for days, but I'm so glad I mentioned, at the beginning when I started talking about the album, buying a good copy of it. I was hearing sounds of that album when I was listening through headphones on a new pressing I just didn't pick up on before. Little drum sounds that Don Henley would hit, extra licks on the guitar I never heard before. It's just, it was awesome just to rediscover something, little things, little minutia in an album that's so fantastic. All right, I'm done. You talk.
I'm just glad somebody got to say minutia. It's one of
Yes.
those $1 million words. Yeah, this album and The Long Run were staples at my house. So I heard, like, again, I say it like all the time. I think of my childhood. I can literally, you know how you have like little specific memories, but they're only like a snippet of a memory, like maybe 2 seconds that somehow stuck with you. I can remember listening to New Kid in Town, out riding around in my mom's VW Bug with her and her best friend and all of us kids piled into that VW Bug. And I hear that song, and that's exactly what I think about. Top to bottom, every song is good. Like every, Pretty Maids All in a Row, that's Joe Walsh. And, he's one of those guys you got to get over his voice. But once you do, it's awesome. It's super duper heavily overproduced, and they get knocked around a lot for that. But you know what? I'm here for it because it sounds amazing. Like, even if you don't like this music, but you like music, this is what you want to hear. You want to hear this good production with these really good musicians. Is there any song on here, except for maybe Hotel California, that is like super crazy groundbreaking or iconic? No, maybe New Kid in Town. But it's just solid from front to back. It's one of those records I'm not mad about listening to the whole thing. And again, I've got just lots of memories tied up in with it too. So, Ken, what's up? What do you think?
This may be strange coming from the metal guy here, but I love Beatles. And it's one of the few things that I actually did hear back in the 70s. So, pretty much my entire life, I've been an Eagles fan. I didn't think this was their best album. I thought it was more on the other end of the scale. That's not to say that I didn't like it. I love this album. I just like the other ones better.
Yeah.
Except for the first one. It was just kind of meh.
Same.
But out of everything that they've done, I mean, Hotel California is probably my favorite Eagles song. I listen to it all the time. The rest of the songs on it, I mean, Life in the Fast Lane, I really like. Victim of Love, I really like. Pretty Maids All in a Row, I didn't really care for that much. And that's probably the only thing that knocks this down for me. It's got one song that I really didn't care for. But I mean, it's a fantastic album. I really can't, in good conscience, say anything bad about it. And of course, that as a guitarist, that Solo in Hotel California just gives me chills every time I hear it.
Yeah. So what would be your number one Eagles record?
Long Run.
Okay.
Good call.
I figured. Yeah.
And there's nostalgia behind that one.
Yeah.
I remember senior year of high school when they let us do the day where we could miss to go on a college day. There was I think it was, we had some reason where we weren't in school one of those days. So I went to a college in Florida. So I drove down and I took the 4-day weekend to do it. And I remember as soon as we started driving through downtown Atlanta, In the City came on from Long Run. And that's the first time I'd ever heard it. I actually stopped at a mall in Atlanta and bought that album right there.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
And yeah, I've been listening to it ever since. So it may just be a nostalgia thing for me, but I think Long Run is my favorite of theirs. Desperado is probably number 2.
Well, that actually finishes me and Clint out, and we only have one thing left. I'm excited. This is the one that I keep saying I'm not going to spoil. So here is Ken's number 1.
My number 1 is the debut album from Boston. Again, this is one I can't really say anything bad about. I heard this for the first time in high school. One of the guitar magazines had the tab for it was either Peace of Mind or Long Time. It was one of the two. But I'd never heard it. I'd never even heard More Than a Feeling at that point. So I went to Backdoor Records in Johnson City and got it. And every song on here is just fantastic. I really don't know what else to say about it. Just
I'm like you. I pretty much discovered it in high school too. I know I'm sure I heard on the radio but we didn't have it at our house. But I remember, I guess we did because I just don't remember listening to it much. Either my mom or dad had it on vinyl, and I remember dubbing it to tape. And I wore out 3 Maxell tapes of that. But I'm with you, like start to finish, and I listen to it that way in my car constantly.
I mean, nothing else really sounds like it.
No, and of course some of that, is the Tom Schultz, the guitar player. He created all of his own effects, and so that's why Boston. I guess the story is, he's an MIT guy, dropped out, super smart, and created all of his own shit, and that's why you get the Boston sound. Well,
I think they recorded that entire album in his basement.
Yes, they did. And that and Brad Delp. I mean, that's the Boston sound. That voice and that guitar. Clint, what's up? What do you think?
well, this was in my top 5, and man, I loved it. Still love it. Didn't make it. I was just thinking about albums that I go back and listen to more today, but I will tell you that More Than Feeling comes on the radio. I listen to it every time. I discovered this probably it's high school. Me and Jason Cole, my friend, we discovered this, and he was a drummer. He is a drummer. He makes fun of the drummer for this band. He's like, all this dude knows how to do is play 8th notes on his cymbals. But it goes, it kind of like leans into the fact that this band was Tom Schultz and Brad Delp.
Yeah.
And there's other dudes in the band. It didn't matter because the sound was unique. The songs were really, really well written songs. And to be honest, it's really hard. Like, as far as iconic albums, it is amazing that there's so many of these albums that happened in 1976. Because to a lot of people, 2112, Boston, Hotel California, that would have been most of 3 people's, maybe not 2112, but most lovers of classic rock would have picked Boston and Hotel California in their list, I think, because this kind of reached everybody. It was accessible, but it had a unique sound. I love it. I have many fond memories listening to this, growing up with this. The only thing I need it on vinyl. I just have it, I still got my old, CD here after all these years. These things still play, people. Compact discs.
Walmart has a exclusive on that one that you can still buy, and it's on blue vinyl.
Okay.
look that up. It sounds good. I've got it. I've got that.
Okay.
About 2 or 3, but it sounds great
Right on.
and it's pretty.
Pretty.
Yeah.
Good pick, Ken. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. So much nostalgia tied up in this one too, just because it was already, let's see, me and Ken were in high school 86 to 90. So when we were freshmen, it was already 10 years old. But still, it's like this was my high school music. All right, man. This has been fun. We're hitting close to the 2-hour mark. I'm super proud of us that we kept it around 2 hours. That's amazing. So, yeah. If there's no other final thoughts or anything, we're gonna go ahead and get on out of here. Start thinking about 1977, and Ken, you'll have to start thinking about another year that you want to jump in on.
There's a couple
Probably-
I've already got that
Probably like
I could-
83, maybe 83.
80 and 81.
Oh, okay.
Both of those are really good years in my opinion.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'd love to.
83 is pretty cool too.
No, this has been good. Like, I appreciate you coming on and
Oh, I'm glad you have it.
doing this with us. It's it adds some variety that we need, and it's much appreciated. And so you're definitely coming back.
I'm glad you like the stuff I picked.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I'm
Thanks.
glad to corrupt somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. No. It was good stuff. I definitely have an open mind. All right, y'all. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. You know where to find us, especially if you're already listening. So I won't go through all that mess. Keep looking out. We'll continue this series. We've got a couple of other sort of one-off things we're going to do shortly. Whenever me and Clint can get that together, and yeah, that's going to be fun. Some fun stuff, and kind of break up the monotony. I'm sure everybody's getting so tired of these years. Obviously, they're not. This is too much fun. Like, every year's so different. But yep, we're going to get out of here and, peace, love, and all that good stuff.